So this is actually using, this is called CFEngine, which is using the AOS2. So it's without Google Play Services.
Yeah, I think we're within the minute now, so we can start. It's okay to have it open, I guess, if someone's coming. Perfect, great. So welcome to our CFEngine talk for today. Welcome. My name is Ole Herman Schumacher Elgesem. You can call me Herman, whichever you prefer. And I have Nils here today. You wanna? Okay. So Nils is our product owner on the CFEngine project. So you can ask us questions, give us feedback, just say hi, anything like this. The topic of today is CFToolkit, or more generally, new tooling that we've introduced in 3.10 LTS, 3.12 LTS, and then some stuff we're working on for future versions. Here's the agenda. I'll have a quick introduction to CFEngine first, but I assume everyone is familiar with the project. Then I have 4 new tools, new binaries, that we'll talk about why we're introducing them, what they do for us, and what they can potentially do for you, our users. CFEngine was created 25 years ago last year, so it's as old as I am, which means I haven't been here for the whole story.
You've never lived in a world without configuration management.
That's true, that's true. That's true.
You kind of have no problem.
Yeah, so Mark Burgess originally wrote CFEngine around 93 at the University of Oslo, and then some years later, he and Thomas created a company called CFEngine, which is our company, which is now called Northern Tech. And we have a couple of other projects that we're not going to talk about today, but they're also interesting projects. So this is sort of our main focus for CFEngine. It's around a secure product used for security applications. It's a minimal C binary with few dependencies, and it does this one job of configuration management. It's focused. We focus a lot on stability, both in the code base and also on the running tool. And we are running at very large scale, which again comes back to this small footprint of our agent and all the other binaries. And as I said, it's based on Mark's research. It's solid groundwork that most of you, I think, have heard of if you've been to this conference before. And then sort of CFEngine 3.12 is our latest LTS, and we have the same focus, but here's a little bit more detail by what we mean by this. So security continues to be our top priority and what our users and customers are using CFEngine for. So this is still very important to us. Then additionally, and also very related to that, is that we do a lot around the quality of our code base, our products, our our testing. We have introduced many different ways to test our product. We have deployment tests, we have scale tests, we have reporting tests. We now do code analysis on all pull requests. So we see sort of common programming mistakes. We catch them early. When we introduced this, we fixed hundreds of cases of code that you know is bad because it's doing something that you would never need to do. So it's very good to catch these kind of mistakes. We use Travis, Jenkins. Those are fairly industry standard. We now have test code coverage. Again, it's the focus on quality and making sure all of our code base is tested and works. And also some more interesting C analysis in Valgrind and address sanitizer. Those are for finding memory errors in our code base. So we now run some deployment tests with Valgrind to see if there are any new memory leaks that we can catch. And we run our unit tests with address sanitizer, so there's no illegal memory access in those pieces of code. Yeah, like I said, this is all about what we do on pull requests. This is all in our CI. We also have a CI system with many different platforms. We test on AIX, HPUX, Solaris, of course Ubuntu, CentOS, any more? Debian, yeah. 18 different platforms, as I said. So that's sort of one big thing for us is general code quality. Another thing that's very relevant to this talk is our usability. We have an enterprise product, which is a reporting system and UI, and we're focusing a lot of efforts on the usability of that system. If you go to our blog, we just released something called a policy analyzer, which is a way to look into your policy and see what promises are being run on what hosts, get a really good understanding of what's running on your infrastructure. Okay, so that's enough background. Now I'll get into some of these toolings that this talk is about. So CFNet is the first one. This is a command line interface to the CFEngine network protocol. It was useful for us to test network functionality. So instead of having to write a policy that fetches a file from the server, we now just have a binary with a get command that fetches a file from the server. And this is the general sort of idea. It's the networking components of CFEngine, but without policy. It's just, it does what you tell it to, basically. So it behaves like CFEngine. It's the same code. It's all open source, written in C. It's in the CFEngine core repo, so anyone can see how it works. You can contribute to it. I'll have some suggestions later for what we can work on in the future. Yeah, like I said, it relies on command line arguments instead of policy. For us, the big use case is internal tests. We now have a mock version of the agent and also a mock version of the server. Yeah?
To what extent debug, so you can raise debug flags and get extensive debug information? If, for instance, the C of server daemon is not configured in the right way, so if you know why it's only could be...
Yeah, I'll have a demo on like the next slide, so I think it'll be more clear then. We can't get a lot of debugging information out of this binary, simply because the server doesn't disclose all of this information. So in a typical setup, to get the reason why the server rejects something, you still need to see the verbose logs of the server. That's more of a security concern than the usability of this tool. And then the other use case, which is more for our users, is that when something's not working, you can try the network operations and see exactly what's failing and what's working. Okay, so I'm going to do some demos here. I have it mirrored on this machine, so you'll see the same as me. I will be using some AWS VMs for all of my demos, so let's hope the cloud is with us today. So I'm going to go to a terminal, SSH into this host. Let's get sudo. And if we check the version, is it okay to read? Yeah, shows up well. So this is a 3.14 alpha build, which means I have all of the new code, but there's not a lot of changes in CFNet. This machine is bootstrapped to this IP. So this is actually the policy server, but just just for completeness, we can use the other machine, so I'm not getting stuff over the network from the same machine. So perfect. Okay, so this one's an agent, or what we call a client. If we do help, we see a fairly standard help menu. This is a C binary. It's the same code base as CFEngine, so it's similar. You have support for similar log levels, so whenever you see something in the agent output, you can see the same thing in this output. So we can verify that the policy server is online. This is something you maybe know already, but it's good to know that you also have the route, the network, to get there. So if we do CFnet connect, it will default to the policy server, and it will tell us that this is connected and authenticated successfully. We can also, if we go to here, we can stat a file that's part of the protocol. So if we stat var CFEngine master files promises.cf, it will tell us that this is a regular file, and this is the IP of the policy server, and that's giving the response to the stat. Similarly, for a folder, yeah, and if you're debugging something and you want to know why.
They also use shortcuts.
What?
Shortcut line.
Short.
Good. The shortcut is talks to the server team or not.
The shortcut of the path?
Now the shortcut that's defined to the server team. Sorry. You have a logical name for master files.
Yeah. No, it doesn't evaluate these names. We could add that, but it's a very close mapping to what it's sending as the network protocol. So literally when you write this, it will be STAT and then a timestamp and then the full path. That's what's being sent. So right now it's a close mapping. We could add shortcuts like this, yes. Where was I? So yeah, if you're debugging why you can't do something like this, stat the inputs directory or get policy from the inputs directory, you will see that this is not allowed. And if you open the server D output, it will tell you that this is not in your ACL by default. Inputs is not part of that ACL. And then finally, you can download files. So this is the get command. You download promises.cf, and then it saves it in this folder. So this is the promises.cf file that we downloaded.
And if for instance this, well, maybe.
Yeah, so you have the last command listed here is opendir. So you can do opendir var CFEngine master files, and then you get the directory listing for that folder. What?
When that comes back from the CFToolkit, is that in
I don't think there's a guaranteed order. I think it's more or less the output of a stat system call. So it's just a list. We could sort it to make it nicer, but again, this is very sort of true to what the server is sending. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay.
You said untitled. You said convergence.
Okay, and then I have my cheating slides if AWS is down, so we won't go through them. Here's the help menu. Here we saw we can connect, list, stat, and finally get. Okay, any questions? I think I have plenty of time, so you can ask questions. Yeah.
Did any customers actually ask you this?
Not directly, but there has been situations where it would be very valuable to tell them can you just try to get this file? And there's no way to do that without a tool like this. They'd have to write a policy and make sure that they execute it without their locks and all of these things. So there has been situations where it would be useful, but nobody has requested it.
Okay, but primarily it helps you support customers better.
It helps us support customers, and we're already using it in tests. So it's already being done to check that you can get a file, that you can, yeah. Hey.
So it's behaving like an agent, but it's not an agent, so it's not subject to locks. That's what you just said, I think.
Yes, that's true.
It's the file exchange part of the agent.
It's not a replacement for the agent. It doesn't make changes to the system.
Yes.
It's just using our networking library in the same way that the agent would.
But one thing how does the server behave then? Can you, for example, call this thing like 3 times quickly, and the server won't lock the request, won't block the request?
Yes, the server will act in exactly the same way as an agent. You can spam this tool and get the server to shut down, if that's what you're asking. I have done it. The server will shut down if you initiate 200 connections in a very short amount of time. So it's a known thing you can do. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is my favorite. This is called CF Remote. It's a way to install, bootstrap, and run CFEngine on many hosts. It arose from the need of having to do this a lot, having to install CFEngine a lot, and without using other tools, just have this automated. Yeah. So as you can see, it bears some resemblance to other tools. It's a Python and Fabric open source thing. It's in the core repo now. Anyone can use it. It's all open source again. All of the things are all open source. There's really no dependencies. It's just Python 3, Fabric requests, and it does use SCP and curl in some places, but that's completely replaceable by requests. On the remote machine, you just need basic cat, which, and the package manager to install CFEngine. So the use case is, like I said, installing and bootstrapping. You can also use it to check if CFEngine is installed there. So again, let's do a demo. And this time there's no cheating, there's no pre-set up machine. So I will just create some new ones. So let's terminate the previous ones. Everyone's happy with the net demo. And let's launch some Red Hat machines. So here we'll do some large machines. Oh, good. I'm gonna do 3 of these. And we have a standard security group for this. I guess the AWS UI is not super nice in any way, actually, but it's not nice for presentations. So we have 3 machines here. We could, of course, spawn these from the API or from the terminal, but this is sort of the dumb way of doing it. I'll do 3 Ubuntu machines as well, just for showing that it works on both. Here we have a security group, and let's launch my key. Okay, good. So here we have our 6 machines. We can see that the 3 first ones are already running, and let's install CFEngine on them. So we can say that this is our hub. So if I do cf remote info, oh, no valid connections. That's not good. Maybe it's not. Let me see if I get that right. If we don't have network to it, then there's nothing I can do, but yeah, so now the SSH is working. We can catch this exception in a better way, but that's essentially it couldn't connect with SSH. So here's a nice printout of what this machine is. We can see it's a RHEL machine. The architecture, there's no CFEngine installed. It's not bootstrapped anywhere, but it does have RPM, which is what we'll use to install CFEngine. So with all of the machines online now, I'm just gonna copy paste them into a file, and then we'll install on all of them at the same time. So I will expand this a little bit. So this will be my bootstrap IP. I guess it doesn't show up so well there. And this will be my hub. So I have these files for the different lists of IPs, and we can do cf remote install hub./hub clients./clients and bootstrap./bootstrap. Okay, make sure I save this. Is that correct? Yep, I think that's good. Now we pray to the demo gods. So here you'll see that it will log into this machine. This happens to be an Ubuntu machine. The readout is very similar from before. CFEngine is not installed. There's no policy server. Of course, since this is Ubuntu, it has dpkg. It will determine that this is the correct package.
So you're using the push mechanism?
We are using a push mechanism. We could make it pull also. I just think it's nicer to have the copies on my machine and then pushing them over than directly from the website.
Well,
Check mark the philosophical property.
Yeah.
With strong arming machine to go do something.
Yeah. So we could definitely change it to just curl the packages from our servers instead, and then would be pull. But right now I think it's easier to have my packages here.
Why don't you need this? You need it, for instance, to install 100,000 servers.
No, it's to save the fact that I'm running Ansible to install CFEngine code.
Or if you want to scale,
Okay.
then you don't want to push, right?
Is this parallel or is it single?
That's probably
It has to be parallel for large fleets, of course. This is done in serial.
Okay, there's nothing to do with parallel.
Not yet. This is all very new, but you are welcome to contribute.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah. So we see the information of what's happening here. It's downloading the package. It's copying the package to the remote. It's running the correct RPM command in this one. It says it's successfully installed, and it's bootstrapping, and then it's doing the same for all of these hosts. So,
May I ask a question?
yeah.
So you have SSH access to the machines,
Yes.
but you haven't specified anywhere the user.
Right.
Saying on the local machines. How
Right.
can it guess it correctly?
So by the powers of demoing. No, it's there's a default list of username that it tries, but in all of these places where there's an IP, you could have username at that IP, and then it won't guess. But it will guess EC2 user, Ubuntu, CentOS, yeah, these normal ones that I'm using, that I happen to be using. Okay, so if we now do info on this machine, it will show us that CFEngine is installed. It's bootstrapped to this IP. Okay.
So you can check the landscape.
You can check that it worked, yes.
Oh, well, you can do it in a production situation as well.
Yeah. There is also, I forgot this, but there's also demo, which will install def.json and make it run on a faster schedule and do these nice things for demoing. Especially with Mission Portal, this is very nice because then Mission Portal will show up immediately. Okay.
Can you do the remote info?
Yeah.
Can you also add a list of IPs? Can you wildcard it? Can you do something?
Same input file.
Let's try and see what happens. It works. Hey.
Do you think you could make at least these utilities statically compiled?
Make what?
For example, CFToolkit were compiled statically.
Yeah.
Then probably you wouldn't need anything and you could use that to download from the policy directory.
To use what to download?
For example, you want to fetch this agent package.
Yeah.
And you cannot because you don't have a CFEngine agent yet on the system.
Mm-hmm.
But suppose there was a statically linked version of that, you could actually run it, and you wouldn't need any tooling.
Yeah, so we could.
It's too hard to do.
We could make a static version of the agent or of CFNet and.
Yeah, because then you can just download it with the protocol.
Yeah, but they
Yeah, but.
only statically linked agent that was the best thing to work. But as far as I know, nobody has managed to build it statically in a few years or something.
Yeah. It's a little outside of the scope of this talk, but yes, there are other ways we could do this. This way fits in very nice with our existing packages and testing what we already have and things like this, but definitely some good ideas for more crazy approaches, maybe. Okay. Can we find this one? Oh yeah, I can show really quickly. There's also a packages command. If you do hub, it will show what packages are appropriate and download them. So we can also do version 3.12.0, and it will find that appropriate version. So you can install any version, not just the default one. Okay. How are we on time? Yeah? Okay, good. Okay, again, these are cheat slides. Here's some info output. You see what it's actually doing. Running uname, running cat on OS release, these kinds of things. Packages, that's what I just showed you. Install, we saw. Okay. So to break the flow of the presentation a little bit, I've added a vote. You guys can contribute right here and now on the syntax for file input, since we are 2 core developers working on this and we couldn't agree. So now you guys can agree for us. So option A is to have the file input like I showed you. It has to start with // // or /, but you can't just type the file name because then it could be a host name. and the other option would be to have everything prefixed with @.
Why don't you use regular expressions?
Regular expressions.
Now you're adding too much.
So now you're already adding more complexity and more choices. Yeah.
So wait, with the dash client,
Yep.
why couldn't the next argument be a hostname?
If
The argument is a
so, this
file.
yeah. So this can either be a file or a list of host names or IPs.
Then you're doing it wrong. It should probably be like a file or like a different argument for files or host names.
Okay. So that's the argument for why @ is more clear.
And
It's
not correct. I've never seen that as an argument for anything.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm out.
Honestly,
Yep.
the add is one more thing to type, and it takes only a second to find out if there is a final line name which was given as the first argument, and if it's not there, then it could be a host name.
Yeah.
I don't check.
Because just
You now
Yeah.
are relying on globbing.
yeah, but it's 2019.
Yeah.
It's not cool
Globbing
anymore.
is something
Something
else.
else to learn, so.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you could have both. I mean, let me explain fully what I'm thinking. I mean, the first syntax to me is quite okay if you mean that the thing after -- clients is a file.
Yeah.
The second one could be as clear if the thing following the @ sign is a host name or an IP. If that's
Okay.
a thing.
So opposite. Yeah.
So, because if I'm going to write a file name, I want to type a file name on
Mhm.
file name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can accept that I have to use an @ sign to
Yeah.
mean something different.
Okay.
Do we have positional arguments? Do we still have the args without options? That can be the host names and the clients of the file. You don't need
So,
host
yeah.
names and file names.
There's no positional arguments after this at the current implementation.
Is there already a discussion going that?
No, there's no discussion.
I think it's cool that we have like as many opinions as
Yeah. So we had 2 opinions and 2 people, and now there's 10 people and 10 opinions. Okay.
Well, it's not an opinion. It's between the difference between logging and presenting parameters to a program.
Okay, I disagree.
Okay, well, I'm going to write an email.
Yeah.
Close the blog or whatever.
Okay, so let's do a quick vote, and then people can always discuss over emails. Who votes for these prefixed with tilde, // or /? Option A.
If it's only 2 choices.
Yeah, and more feedback is always welcome. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then who wants @ or another prefix?
I object to both.
Okay, so we're staying with A. We are an open source project. We can discuss this at length online. We do accept pull requests. If they have good reasoning, then
I'll CC Mark.
yeah. Okay. So I'll go on to the next one. This may be something you've never heard of, or you've pulled out your hair over. So we're introducing something called CFcheck. It's a binary which checks the consistency of your local databases. In CFEngine, we have LMDB databases on all the clients, and these contain information that's communicated between our binaries and also between executions. So you have persistent classes, you have last seen hosts, which are network incoming and outgoing connections. You have some locks and these kinds of things. And if one of these databases is corrupt, like we've seen on some exotic platforms, you cannot remediate this in policy, because in order to evaluate policy, you need data from these databases. So it's a very sort of chicken and egg problem. So if you're only on Ubuntu, this doesn't really matter to you, but we made this binary which does a consistency check and can back up and remove these databases automatically. Again, it's all open source. It's in the core not in contrib, but in the core repository. It's based on something we had earlier called lmdump, which dumps databases. And it's now also in CFEngine and CFEngine, so it can be enabled with an optional argument. A little detail, I don't know how many C developers we have here, but basically how it works is it spawns processes using fork, and each of these processes will open this database that we don't know if it's corrupt or not. It will iterate through all the contents, and then there's the parent process here that's waiting for it, checking the return status, checking if it was signaled. So no matter what happens to this process, we will know. Even if it's seg faults, it's still a separate process, so we will know that it's seg faults, and then we can assume there's something wrong with this database. LMDB is a memory mapped database, so if there is something wrong, it's very easy to get a bus error. And this is not something you can recover from in a normal C process. Okay, we can show this also very quickly. It has 4 commands, and let's see. Let's start one more. So Ubuntu T2 large review large 1. Okay, test. Okay. So now we can use remote again to install and bootstrap to this IP, demo, and then we'll need a package that has these features, hub package, and I think I have that in my downloads folder. Nova Hub 314. Did I pick an Ubuntu machine? Yes. Okay. So again, you've seen this. We're now installing a 314 alpha build, which has all of the CFcheck changes. They are merged in master, but they're not part of a full release yet. Let's hope this goes well. You can copy paste this. Okay, installed, bootstrapped. And now I did the demo also, so you can see it's triggering some extra agent runs and copy pasting a def.json to the target. Okay, so real quickly, if you want to see this, it's now up and running. And it's set a default password for us.
I see that it also distributes deprecation.
Yes? Yeah, so this is a 314 build, so it has that functionality. But the def.json that we're sending is just a very simple one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just to, so right now this will most likely show up with reporting information. Okay, it doesn't have all of it. yeah, so it's up and running, and in about a 2-minute interval we'll get the reporting data. Anyway, let's SSH into this machine. So let's go here. And now we have CFcheck. We can do CFcheck help. Here it shows the different commands. Dump is what I talked about earlier. It's similar to lmdump. So in var CFEngine state, you have these LMDB databases, and if we do this command dump, we can see the contents of one of them. Okay, a little big. So that's basically what it looks like. It's very internal stuff, but it's useful for debugging to have this functionality. Yeah. So I will just copy paste these commands. Diagnose is to assess whether these databases are corrupt. So if I run this, you see it will iterate through all of the databases in this folder, and it will print that all of them are okay. We can now, on purpose, make one of them corrupt in some way. So if I write hello config management camp to var CFEngine state CF last seen, and then run diagnose, we will get a system error 183 from this process. And then finally we have the repair command. Was it already fixed? That's too bad.
It's too good.
Let's try again. Yeah, so apparently there was a run in between and it did fix it, so that's unfortunate, but here is the full output of what happened. So it goes through just like diagnose. It finds this one error. It backs up to a timestamp directory, and then it removes the one which was seen to be corrupt. Yes?
Do the exit codes represent the state that we got on?
The exit code of the binary?
Yes. So if you
Yeah.
check, is it returning non-zero if it's corrupt?
Yes. So if you use diagnose, that's what it does. Repair will return 0 if it repaired the situation. But if you want to have some other remediation and you just want to use the diagnose and then your own remediation behavior, then you can use it that way, yes.
Because I have seen tools that return only 0 because it runs successfully.
Yeah, no, diagnose returns non-zero if there is a corrupt database. Repair returns 0 if it repaired the situation correctly.
CFcheck one is configure flags. How you configure CFEngine for not directly and parsing.
We're open to contributions. It doesn't have any configuration files, no. We could make something simple or add more command line options for these things, but we can't make it evaluate policy in the same way CFEngine does, because then it's... Yeah. Yes. Yes, so definitely we'll need to make it support a different directory, for example. Yes.
Yeah, like, I always look around the little backup stuff. I put it in the
Mm-hmm.
place where I would like to backup databases to.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything unclear at this point? I think that's it for CFcheck. Yeah, we got like 10 more minutes. Here's the stuff we went through. And then finally, this one doesn't have a demo, but we can quickly talk about it. So one big problem for our users and customers is upgrading their policy sets. Because they're running something based on master files, our policy framework, but then inevitably you have to make changes to this, and then we want you to run our latest version of master files, but this becomes increasingly hard if you've made a lot of changes to your master files. And there's a couple of different aspects of how we're improving the situation. Def.json and augments files is one of the big ones. So a lot of our configuration in master files can now be done via parameters in a JSON file. So you don't have to go into the policy files and edit things manually there. There's exposed variables. Yeah.
As far as I can recollect,
Yep.
you have master files distributed for major versions. So you have master files for 3.7, 3.10,
Yes.
3.12.
Yes.
And as long as you run 3.12, there are no changes to master files, or am I wrong?
So if you are upgrading from 3.10 to 3.12, and you already have policy that you're using, that's sort of, it's 3.10, but with your own changes, we won't automatically overwrite your policy. So you'll still have your 3.10 policy, and it's up to you to get it up to date with 3.12. And this is the problem we're trying to address here.
And for me, this is super helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is available as a 3.12.
So let me get to it, yeah. The def.json work is ongoing. We are trying to pull out all of these configuration parameters so you don't have to edit these things. And then the other part is a tool for doing the upgrade. And that's what we're calling CF policy upgrade. It is currently a pull request and a discussion. So it's not ready. Again, it's a Python tool. It doesn't require Git, even though we want everyone to use Git or version control. Sadly, that's not the state at all customers and users. So this is a separate thing that, let's see here, if we get some examples. So we can run it through all of our versions of master files and generate hashes for all of these different versions of our policy. And then when you have a database or a big JSON blob of all of this information, you can run it against your policy to see what you've changed. That's the basic idea. So here's a snippet from the JSON that it outputs. So you see this hash is for the 3.76 version of promises.cf, and promises.cf has these different versions with these hashes. So it's very easy to programmatically look up which version you have, or if you have custom changes, if it's not anywhere in this information. That's, yeah. This is kind of what it looks like currently. You run it inside your master files directory. It will tell you you have something that looks like 3.12.1 of policy. And here's a custom policy file that is not part of any of our master files. So this file will require your attention when upgrading. Yes?
I wonder about this case, because what's the situation? You upgraded the app?
Ideally, you do this before you upgrade, but yes, it's part of the upgrade. We recommend that you upgrade policy first, and then packages.
Okay, well, you could discuss the strategy, but you could also deploy a new hub, and then make the hosts that are still using the old hub bootstrap to the new hub.
Yes, but you still have the issue of a conflict in the policy that you've implemented and the policy that we ship. This is what we're trying to get them to one. You want our updates to the policy, but also your updates to the policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a situation we encounter.
Yeah, so it's exactly how you do the upgrade on what you install where and what you bootstrap where is not the primary concern. The primary concern is looking at your policy and our policy and getting them up to date.
We made we just remove everything.
Okay.
Then copy your master files.
Okay. and then try to make your changes.
Do
Yeah.
our updates.
Yes.
And then
Yeah. Yeah.
you never go.
It can get painful. Yeah. So that's the end of my presentation. I have some time for questions. Maybe we're getting pretty late.
Well, your updates already.
Hey, we can keep discussing this for goals.
Yeah, that's good. Really quickly, I'll share these slides on my Twitter. I'll share a link. We'll put them somewhere on the website as well. Here's a list of cool ideas if anyone wants to contribute. It's all related to the stuff we've shown today. It's like implementing new platform support, integrating with AWS so you don't have to spawn things manually, these kinds of things. Windows support. Anyone wants to implement something like fork on Windows, that would be great. Yeah. Here's some contact information. My Twitter is right there. I'll tweet the link to this presentation. Check out our...
From the CFEngine Twitter as well.
Yep. And like I said, there's on our blog, there's some cool video of this new policy analyzer thing. That's our little plug. And that's it.
Thank you.
It's going to be in 3.2. It's already in.
What's the coolest thing?
Is the data filtering and parsing stuff. So basically, it's stuff that's going to put your Watson. It's going to make your Watson have to stop developing large policy.
There's a lot of cool things, but I wouldn't call it tooling.
Sure.
Yeah. So we could have another talk about all the cool things. Yeah, cool things. No, but thanks everyone for coming.